For today's review, we have a 2020 Toyota Corolla. So, a little background on the Corolla. It's been fully redesigned recently. Toyota rolled out a new Corolla Hybrid for the 2019 model year. And for this year, for 2020, they've rolled out the new Corolla sedan, which you see behind me. What's interesting about this one is that it's a hybrid model. So for the first time ever in the US, we're getting a Corolla Hybrid. And for 2020, it's only available in one trim level, and that is the one up from the bottom LE trim. So while it's not offered with really many comfort features like no sunroof, no heated seats, it is pretty interesting because it uses what is pretty much the same hybrid powertrain as the Prius. It gets virtually the same fuel economy as the Prius, and it's a lot newer and a lot more modern than the Prius. So that leaves me wondering, what does the future hold for the Toyota Prius when Toyota has a super modern, efficient, compact hybrid sedan on its hands with the new Corolla. What I think the Prius still has going for it is that it's a little more spacious. It's got a hatchback design. The Corolla, as of right now, is just available in the sedan body style. And as of the 2019 model year, the Prius gained optional all-wheel drive. So it's still got some selling points. And you know, the Prius is the Prius. It's a little quirky. But the new Corolla Hybrid here gets 53 miles per gallon combined and is a pretty strong offering. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the new Corolla. Starting with the exterior, I really like the new design of this thing. I think the proportions are good. Obviously, it's not a Lexus GS, but I think it looks kind of muscular. You've got some little prominence to the wheel arches there. This thing is riding on efficiency-oriented 15-inch wheels that look a lot more interesting than they really are, and by that I mean they're kind of just like dinner plates when you look up close to them. You know, very small openings here. The black paint kind of makes this look like negative space, but when you look up closely, it's all wheel, but super efficient. The new headlight design I like as well. They come really close together. I mean, that's all headlight except for right here. Being that this is a hybrid, it's got the blue outline on the badge up front, just like every other Toyota hybrid. Big opening down here. I think it's tastefully done. Toyota has long been criticized for its kind of questionable styling decisions, but I think they've really been on a roll lately with the new Camry, the new Avalon, the new RAV4, the new Highlander, and now the new Corolla. I think they're all looking pretty good. Greenhouse on this thing, I like the side profile. I think short rear deck lid. Yeah, I like it. Got a hybrid badge up front here. I like the back too. It's kind of a throwback to Japanese design language of the 1990s that saw the taillights connected by a black bar. I mean, it's obviously been modernized, but I think it looks really good. I think it looks as good as a mainstream compact sedan can really look. I've got the key here. I'll take a look in the trunk. Pops. Even though this is just an LE, you can pop the trunk via the key fob. And decent amount of space back here. You'll still get more room in a Camry. You'll still get more room in a Prius just because the rear hatch opening. This is just a basic trunk, but decent amount of space there. Kind of a protection plate along the back here. Yeah, not much else to see back here. And let's take a look inside. Okay, climbing inside where it's much less windy. Turn this thing on. And there we go. So there's no engine startup with Toyota hybrids, at least not until you put it in drive and start moving. Turn this up So being that this is an LE model, you're not going to find a lot of features in here. It does come with this 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which is decent. I think it works, pretty well. You do get a screen in the gauge cluster here. Other than that, not a lot of features. No sunroof. You get a plastic steering wheel, which is one area where I think Toyota's being a little bit stingy. It's just not pleasant to hold over long distances. It feels kind of hard. It's a little, it's plastic. It's gritty. I think at the very least, a leather-wrapped steering wheel could be included here, and I think that would be appreciated by just about anybody. But basic interior, everything's black. Everything, except the headliner actually, is black in here. You do get this chrome strip along here. Passenger airbag light up here. That's kind of funky to have a bit of information this far over onto the passenger side of the vehicle. But, this steering wheel will be familiar to anybody who's been in a modern Toyota. Over here, this is very hard plastic. It's plastic. It's not even like a hard soft touch plastic. It is just straight up plastic. You do get a fabric armrest, not very cushiony, but there is some foam in there, so it's somewhat cushioned. Basic Toyota switchgear here that'll last for decades. Fuel door, push button, automatic high beams. So like every modern Toyota, even though this is a pretty basic LE model, it does come standard with Toyota Safety Sense. So it has automatic emergency braking, lane keep assist, radar cruise control, and automatic high beams, which is really generous. There aren't very many other automakers that make all of that standard. One thing you can't get on the Corolla Hybrid, because it's only available in LE trim, is blind spot detection with rear cross-traffic alert. So while I've been driving this thing this week, I've kind of missed blind spot detection, especially given that this thing has so many other active safety features, but oh well. Moving on, so Apple CarPlay is included in the new Corolla, but it does not have Android Auto. I'd like to see that added as part of a software update down the line. I think Toyota is probably, in negotiations with Android or something. It's being offered in some Toyota products, but not all of them, and I would hope that would be added to all modern Toyotas, even those that have already left the dealer lot via a software upgrade down the line. Anyway, on to the big thing with the Corolla Hybrid here, and that would be fuel economy and fuel efficiency. So you can see that so far I've driven about 236 miles in this thing, and over that time I have averaged 54.3 miles per gallon. So you can see on the window sticker here, this thing is actually rated at 52 miles per gallon combined. Excuse me, I know I said 53 miles per gallon before, but EPA rates this at 53 city, 52 highway, and 52 combined. You can see that I've actually beaten that by 2.3 mpg over 236 miles. So that's pretty impressive. We're looking at, if you do the math here, add 236 back into 267, and you're looking at, what is that? A little bit over 500 miles of total range on a tank, which is downright impressive. It's nice to drive this vehicle knowing that you're not wasting fuel. And I think that's kind of made me feel better over the course of my week with it, just knowing that little trips are costing me far less than they would in my personal vehicle. Anyway, down here you've got an electronic parking brake with a hold function. You've got a couple different drive modes. The default drive mode is this eco mode. You can see I haven't pressed the button yet. I just started the car up and it's already in eco mode. I'll press the button once and I guess that's normal mode, and then press it again and there is a power mode, which is kind of funny to have in a Toyota hybrid that makes 121 horsepower, but anyway, you've got a power mode. There's also an EV mode, which I've yet to find a real use for EV mode in any Toyota product. It allows you to travel without the engine turning on, but only at really, really low speeds. So there's really not a practical use for the EV mode that I've found in a Toyota, but they offer it, so whatever. Up here you do kind of get this screen that shows you where power is coming from. So you can see right now the vehicle's just turned on and the only thing that's really active is the battery. Excuse me. Oh, there you go. There's a better view of it. So the battery's about half full. If I were to drive a little bit and coast or use the brakes, and there's even a special setting for the transmission, this B mode that increases regenerative braking. I think that's what it feels like it's doing when I have the gear selector in B mode. But you'll see that the battery isn't totally full. I could probably fill that up if I just coasted down a couple of hills. So at low speeds, the battery supplies the wheels. When more power is needed, the engine will kick on and power both the wheels and power the battery a little bit. And then when I'm coasting, you'll see an image on here that shows energy from the wheels being collected and sent back to the battery. So very interesting. This is how all Toyota hybrid systems work. This is how most hybrid systems work, I should say, not just Toyotas. But we can hop around and take a look in the back seat. Not much to see back there, but we'll take a look. So this is how I sit. This is how I have the seat configured when I'm behind the wheel. And you can see that there's some space back here. My knees have a decent amount of room. I'm about 5'10", 5'11". Good amount of room back there. Space to move my feet around. So yeah, really not bad back here. Little transmission hump. It's not huge. It's worth noting. You can maybe get an idea of the angle there. It's not huge. A little cubby right here, but no USB ports or vents or anything back here. Not really much of anything back here. There's an overhead light, some grab handles with a little hook. You can hang a hanger on. You can see that the seats do kind of have a nice stitching pattern in them. But yeah, other than that, it's just a sea of black fabric in this vehicle. Might as well take a look at the window stickers. You can see that this is a 2020 Toyota Corolla Hybrid LE sedan. And like I mentioned, the Corolla Hybrid is only available in LE trim for 2020. So one of the things that keeps the Prius relevant is that if you want features out of a small compact Toyota hybrid, you've still got to get the Prius, because this thing, you can't even get it with a sunroof or leather or heated seats or anything like that. I do have a feeling that Toyota will introduce more trim levels for this vehicle in the coming years. So you can see that not a lot of options. Sticker price on this thing comes in at, factoring in that $930 delivery, processing, and handling fee, $25,233. And yeah, no options. These are all just kind of basic dealer installed stuff, like a frameless HomeLink mirror, wheel locks, floor mats, etc. So yeah, 121 horsepower, 1.8 liter hybrid, supplemented 4-cylinder. It's not fast. The electric battery, though, does give it a little bit of torque, so it's not totally gutless. And you can see that the battery just went down to a level that the vehicle kicked the engine on to ensure that the battery was staying charged. So yeah, not a lot to show you with this one. So I think the most interesting thing about this vehicle is that it could very well supplant the Prius in the coming model years, and I think it would make a lot of sense if it eventually did just that. I think hybrids have gone mainstream, and Toyota is proving with this vehicle that they can achieve Prius-like fuel economy from a vehicle that isn't the Prius. And what I could totally see happening is, for now the Prius has some advantages with regard to it offers a little more cargo room. It's a little quirkier, and I think some people are looking for that from a hybrid vehicle. And it's also got that optional all-wheel drive system. But ultimately, what I think could happen is that in coming model years, Toyota could expand the hybrid trim of the Corolla to different trim levels. So, maybe a Corolla hybrid XSE, LE, XLE, whatever the upper level trims are. And eventually, I could see the next generation of the Prius going fully electric. And I think that would make a lot of sense for Toyota. Hybrid's pretty mainstream now, so I don't think that they really need a standalone flagship hybrid product anymore. But I think the Prius brand name is worth a lot, and I don't see Toyota just getting rid of it. So I could see them ultimately applying the Prius name and maybe making it a sub-brand for their electric vehicles. I don't know, but I think this is kind of this vehicle is the first step toward the demise of the Prius as we know it. I think it'll likely evolve considerably when the next generation comes along in the next probably 2 years or so. But anyway, I mean, if it's fuel economy you're after, I think this thing's pretty great. I know some of Hyundai's hybrids do get slightly better fuel economy than the Corolla here, and they do come with a better overall warranty. I know a lot of buyers look to Toyota reliability though, and that's definitely worth factoring in. But I really like this thing. I'm slowly changing my mindset. I now feel that any vehicle that isn't a sports car might as well be a hybrid. This thing isn't fast, but if you give me 180 horsepower and so-so fuel economy, or 121 horsepower and 52 miles per gallon combined, I'm gonna take the latter scenario there. I'll give up a little bit of power for fuel economy that's this great, 52 miles per gallon, or I should say 54 miles per gallon in my case here. It's pretty nuts. So yeah, that's kind of my new mantra, is that if it's not a sports car, make it a hybrid, because I think there's more to be gained by saving fuel than there is by having a vehicle that's got 180 horsepower and still isn't quite fast. But yeah, that's just my mindset. So anyway, yeah, Corolla hybrid, I think a sign of things to come. And once this thing gets a few more trim levels, I think it'll become a big seller for Toyota.